Hello, my beloveds. Welcome to this episode. We're going to be talking about this one amazing tool that we can do to shift our frequency and our vibration, and for good, right? Because so often, we do a lot of different things to try and raise our vibration and stay high vibrational, whether it's listening to sound frequencies and doing lots of meditation to try and get ourselves into the space. And yet what can happen is then we go into our reality of maybe going to work, going to see your family or friends, and then these triggers start to come up and you start to get frustrated and irritated, and maybe certain patterns start to resurface and you start to feel a bit down and a bit low and feel low vibrational. Maybe you picked up some vibrations even from your environment and you think, why does this keep happening? I'm doing all the work, and yet I'm going into these situations and I'm still experiencing this low vibrational pattern or this experience. And remember, nothing is necessarily like low vibrational. It's just different. It's just expression of something very different to maybe your innate natural beingness. And what's really happening is that there is this inner child that's maybe a bit wounded, maybe has a belief or a pattern about itself or about its environment and about its experience. So it reacts in a certain way, which is creating a certain vibration. So let's give you an example of this. As a child, you're at school and the teacher keeps telling you that this silly behavior that you keep doing, it's silly and it's weird, and you need to stop doing it. You need to keep still. You need to stop moving around, because you just keep wanting to move your hands around. I'm someone that expresses myself a lot with my hands. So I'm giving that as an example. Imagine that the teacher started to tell you that. So then you start to create this belief that you look silly when you're talking, when you're trying to be yourself in an environment. So you keep very tense, very tight, and it's starting to cause headaches later on in life. You get a lot of headaches. You feel quite tight in your body. Maybe you even get constipation and you get lots of extreme IBS or things like this could start presenting themselves, right? And when you go into experiences like when you're in a big group of people, like being at school in a school class, you start getting the tension headaches, the tightness, uptight, because you're trying to hold yourself, because you can't move and be expressive. Maybe you start getting stomach issues or something like that when you're in these environments. So how can we decode that? How can we stop those patterns from happening so we can start to feel the fullness of our expression in those experiences, whether we're at home in our lovely bubble or when we're in those experiences where we're getting re-triggered again. So we can keep that same vibration from our lovely juicy meditation, right? Or our dance practice or our sound bowl practice or whatever it is. So it's the somatics, right? So we can start to trace, and I've already given you the key here, that this example. So say this person had that experience at school, they go into the environment, they can then start to feel when this tight tension is coming up. We start to notice how it's feeling in the body. Okay, and you can feel the tension, you can feel the contraction. Maybe you feel in your stomach starts to gurgle and feels all funny. So you think, okay, there's that inner child. The first step, we might want to talk to that part and just give it some reassurance. This isn't like before. Just so you get to express yourself now. You get to be your fullest. You can give it some words of affirmations. You can stroke your belly. You can give yourself a little hug. Find something that reassures this part that it's okay in that loving, nurturing way. That can be really good. And another thing is for you to practice. Okay, so you might want to walk around the room. You might want to just sit and see how you want to sit and start to connect into your higher self, connect into a future self if you haven't really felt the strength of this confidence or whatever it is that you want to embody in your everyday life, this high vibrational, this beautiful soul essence expression of yourself. Start to play with it in your own sacred space and get the sense of how it feels in the body. Really start to feel how is my shoulders? How is my posture? How am I sitting? How do I walk when I'm walking around the room, when I'm embodying this? Okay, embody, we're in the body, we're feeling the soma. What's the response in our body? What does it feel like in the stomach and the digestive system? How do I look around the room? How do my eyes start to engage with what's around me? Because sometimes we also dissociate in those environments when we're being re-triggered. So how do we look when we're in that awareness of our soul? We're probably looking with like big, bright, excited eyes, perhaps, rather than sunken, low, looking down to the ground. Maybe if we're feeling like this, our voice is changing. Does our voice sound more grounded? Does it sound like it's coming from our heart? Or does it sound like it's coming from a little wounded part, a smaller self? Because when we're talking maybe to somebody, we sometimes, and I do this, I still do this, okay, I'm not gonna lie, but I see myself doing it, I catch it, I change it when I do it, but there'll be certain people in my life and it just feels easier just to lighten the voice, just to sound like I'm an innocent little girl. They won't attack me when I'm an innocent little girl. They won't be nasty and say nasty things to me. So I start to change, but you feel kind of icky when you come away from that. It's draining because you're not yourself. You don't want to scare other people off with yourself, but really, your truest self, your truest essence is your greatest weapon of love, weapon of power, because it is truly you embodying yourself, being centered in your truth. People can't hurt that really, because you are saying, hey, I have my power. I know my power. Because when you're little, your power is there and it's like, but we're not kind of fully aware and knowing this is power, this is not power. But we get triggered into the not power and we don't really know always how to get back to that powerful place because we're not really taught that, in schools and in our upbringing necessarily. Some may have that skill, some have it built into them. But I'm talking to those that maybe feel they don't know how to get there and they keep having those like waves going back and forth and in and out of it. And this is what I have done, as I notice when those little inner child codes, as I call them codes, they're like frequency codes, patterns that are demonstrated in the body, even in our voice, because our voice is still creating that somatic sense. You can hear it, you can feel it in your throat, you can feel where it's coming from in your body. Yeah, it might be coming more up from the head if you're overthinking, overanalyzing what to say. It could be feeling like it's coming from like just another part. This is that younger parts start to kind of come in and speak. And it starts to change your voice box. It's like channeling, when people channel higher states of consciousness, sometimes their voices change because they're channeling like a being that is like an ascended master, and it talks with such deep knowing and wisdom. And sometimes we can even tap into that. We can communicate with these beautiful beings that are so benevolent and so trusting and knowing that they can hold us and hold us in that frequency. So when we go into those environments, we can actually embody some of their energy. They can hold us and support us in holding that energy as well. And I really do like that practice because it's so supportive when you really don't feel that you've got it all together. Maybe you're going somewhere where it's just like there's a pack of wolves waiting for you, at the family dining table, and you want to have that extra support and you're going in alone. Well, there is support here for you. Not just your higher self, you can work with your guides, work with some beings that are pure loving beings that are here to support you and guide you, whether you call them angels, ascended masters, star beings. Feeling that wrath of energy. We're all just fragments of the divine and we are co-creating together, and we want to co-create that vibration in that environment. So I'm kind of spinning off a little bit in a way. There's a different avenue of what you can do to hold that vibration in all walks of your life, but working with that. But it's not just doing it from that energy perspective or that thought perspective. It's actually then starting to feel it in the body. Because when we feel what that's like, when you start to connect with certain beings, for instance, I think that that's another little side trick here that a lot of people miss in spiritual development, is really getting to understand the feeling and the senses of things. Because quite often, if you're not always a visual person and you want to connect with a being, and you're connecting with a being, you think, oh yeah, I can feel that there's a being there, but you can't actually feel what the being is, what its frequency is. And then that's when we could start to get a bit confused and start inviting things that are not necessarily of benevolence, of pure love. And when we can decipher that, and we can decipher certain beings, and we know their frequency, we know that's a solid being, you know, that we really full on get along with, that they support us and truly love us, you know, and we can feel and recognize their energy signature. So you want to start to pick up and know your energy signatures of your smaller selves, inner children that are wounded, whatever you want to call them. Pick up those signatures, understand them, get to know your energy signature of your eternal being, your soul self, your higher self, divine self, just giving you a layer of different words that kind of mean the same thing, but they'll mean different things to different people. Like higher self can be quite a trigger word for some people. So I like to give you some different variations that you can choose that feel really good to you. So you want to get those energy signatures and understand them. And so when you can feel the other one and it's not appropriate necessarily for you to process it or to be in it, you can then start to evoke the energy signature of what you do understand to be as your divine self, soul self, right? So I hope that that's been super helpful for you. Let me know in the comments. And if you want to know some more of these tips further, then come into my community, as I do offer one-on-one sessions, and I've got some amazing workshops, but all the links are down below. So lots of love.